What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Dynasty pod, and it is the best time of year because football is right around the corner. We are recording on Labor Day, but this upcoming Thursday, guys, we are going to be seeing the Rams play the Bills on Thursday Night Football, season opener. It's going to be amazing.
Super excited.
Yeah. And what a great game, too, just to open up the season.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's like the best season opener I've seen in, I don't know, forever probably.
Yeah. So, on today's episode, we're going to be going over some of our my guys for this upcoming season, and we've each got a sleeper pick as well. And then we're going to be transitioning into the week one breakdowns to help you guys get your lineup set up and who we think are going to be favorable matchups, unfavorable matchups going into week one. So, a lot of good stuff on today's show, and no hesitation, let's just jump right into it. I'll start off with my first my guy because I don't think it should be a surprise. I feel like I've talked about him pretty much every single episode that we've done a podcast. My first my guy is Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton is amazing at football. So happy that he's got a quarterback with him now who's finally going to provide him that wide receiver one production that he needs to be an elite receiver in the NFL because he really does have that talent. So Courtland Sutton, especially where he's going in drafts, is an unbelievable value. He's 26 years old. I think we all think that Courtland Sutton's going to be the one moving forward in Denver. Yeah. So we're not worried about Judy. And Judy's going to get his touches. He's going to get worked into the offense. They can both coexist. Not too worried about it. It's obviously sucks that Tim Patrick went down with injury, but it's better for Sutton's overall fantasy value that it's going to be him and Judy now as opposed to that three-headed monster that they had before. So, love Courtland Sutton. Absolutely amazing. Primed for a big breakout year. Got him as my my wide receiver 10. So, absolutely love this guy.
Yeah, I think we all honestly are pretty high on Sutton. I know Trev, he's on your list of potential my guys. Didn't make the cut, but on the list. Though I think honestly, Trev, you and I have it both ranked at 16, which is actually pretty much consensus Dynasty ranking though. So I actually don't think we're much higher than consensus on them. But I know, Brendan, you have him way up as your 11th best wide receiver coming off our wide receiver ranking episode. Yes, Trev, I guess both of us are probably going to go wide receiver first for my guys. Do you want to go next?
Sure. So, also shouldn't be too much of a surprise. I'm going Michael Pittman. I love Michael Pittman. I've loved him since last year, even though he had terrible quarterback play. He got a huge upgrade with Matt Ryan. I don't think anybody doubts that. Even though Matt Ryan is headed toward the end of his career, he's still an upgrade. He's the clear number one for the team. The cost of him right now is really where you secure Michael Pittman because you can still get him. I mean, it depends on your draft for sure, but like you can still get him 3rd, 4th, 5th round. If you can get Michael Pittman in the 5th round, a guy that finished as I think the 16 or 17 last year, who's definitely going to be either bottom end 1, top end 1, or top end 2 at the worst. That's a guy you want to grab. I wrote down this real quick. He had 129 targets last year. So as far as targets go, up, down, maybe, but of those, 58 is what he caught. That's going to go way up because that's not him. That's catchable balls. He's going to have way more receptions. He had 1,000 yards on those 58 catches. He's going to have way more yards, and he only had 6 touchdowns, which, based on those receptions and yards, is going to go up as well. So I expect a big year for Michael Pittman.
So do you expect the targets to remain about the same this year, even when they're bringing in probably a more reliable number 2 with Alec Pierce versus a mixture of injured T.Y. Hilton and Paris Campbell?
It might even go down. but it's about the value of those targets. So he had 129, 115s, that's solid. So if he has 110, 115, but if he's catching 80 of those versus
Right.
60 of those, and if they're way higher value, then I'm still way in on Michael Pittman. I definitely don't think he's going to be this 160 target monster, but he is the clear number one.
No, I was thinking more about it last night. I was looking through kind of the consensus, like keep trade cut, wide receiver rankings for Dynasty, and realized that it's not even really that you have Pittman high, that Brandon and I are low on Pittman. Pittman is the number 9 consensus Dynasty ranked wide receiver, which is kind of insane. I mean, to me, I was surprised by that. I think
considering who his quarterback's going to be after Ryan, I think that is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but you have him as your number 7, Trev. So you have him higher than that.
Well, like I said, that's the only thing that keeps him as low as he is. Like, I believe in talent. It's all about what's.
Do you think he could be a top 5 in the NFL wide receiver if he had a better quarterback?
58 catches for 1,080 yards, 6 touchdowns with a terrible quarterback.
Wow.
Yeah. For me, it's more so for me, Indianapolis really kind of showing their hand and saying we want Jonathan Taylor to run the ball like crazy. Frank Reich has said that. They still want to get him those massive touches and control games. So it's not more so do I think if he was in the situation where he could be a wide receiver 1, I think he could do that. It's just I don't think that he will be in that situation because of how much they want to run the ball in Indy. So.
Yeah, I think
they wanted to run it just as much last year. So
that's fair. And he had a ton of targets last year. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it's more that they literally have not had any other option to throw to. Who else could catch balls last year? Like Jonathan Taylor, I guess. But after him, like T.Y. Hilton, no. Like Paris Campbell, no. Mo Alley Cox, no. Jack Doyle, no. And, they brought in Jelani Woods and Alec Pierce. So I think they're trying to bring in more pass catchers to spread the ball around a little bit beyond just Pittman so that teams can't scheme around just him. But absolutely agree that he's going to be a beast. Those guys are not big names they're bringing in. They're still, he is still going to be absolutely the top dog there. So if they throw the ball enough, I mean, you make a good argument. If they throw the ball enough to him and they're better targets, I don't see why he can't do better this year.
Yeah, like I said, I expect the targets to go down, but you talked about scheming around Pittman. The defense definitely will scheme around him a little, but he's not the priority. Like, we all see that on that team. He's not the priority that the defense wants to scheme out. And that's part of the reason he's going to have, I think, such an amazing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it was easy if you only have one guy you got to guard to just stack the box and try to, put safety help towards Pittman. But I think you're right. This year, it's going to be more difficult. So. That could be better for Pittman, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's see. So my guy, I'm gonna go wide receiver as well. So I think we've all gone with a young wide receiver who I think we think is in an ascending situation. Cortland Sutton's got Russell Wilson coming in. Michael Pittman's got Matt Ryan coming in. For me, I'm going to go Marquise Brown. And, I think Brendan might not like that I'm saying this is an ascending situation, but I think Marquise Brown is going from an offense built around the run and built around, Lamar Jackson's running ability to a team that is, built around the Cliff Kingsbury air raid offense, I think Marquise Brown is going back to his college quarterback Kyler Murray. He's rebuilding the connection they had at Oklahoma. And I think that everything that Arizona has done over the offseason indicates that Marquise Brown is who they want to build this offense around. Well, Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown. He is the core of that young offense going forward. Hopkins is there, and Hopkins is the guy that helped Kyler Murray get to the level that he is, but Marquise Brown's going to be the guy that keeps him there for the rest of this big contract they just signed Kyler to. I fully believe they're going to sign Marquise Brown to a contract when he becomes a free agent in a couple of years to a big, league, record-setting contract. Probably going to be in the top 5 to 10 best paid wide receivers, especially if he plays well over the next couple of years. And after Hopkins leaves, I'm not worried about these guys behind him like Rondell Moore or Trey McBride or anybody like that. I think he's finally gonna have the opportunity to be what we probably all expected of Hollywood Brown when he came into the NFL. That's kind of why I have Marquise Brown as my guy. I'm taking him. I honestly haven't been able to get him in as many drafts as I would like, because we play with a Cards fan who takes him before me a lot of times. But I have him. If we look at our rankings, I have him as my 18th ranked wide receiver, which is 8 spots higher than both of you guys. So I just took him in a draft yesterday. I love the talent this year and long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, well, Brendan, you're going to be able to speak a lot more on it than I am, but I was going to say, we talked about it a little bit before, but Hollywood, for me, I think he thinks he's better than he is, but that isn't a negative when we're talking about fantasy value, especially because he left. It wasn't due to money. He didn't leave for a contract. He left because he wants to be featured in the offense as a passing weapon. So him going to Arizona, Kyler wants to use him like that. Cliff Kingsbury wants to use him like that. He wants to be used like that. Like, that's what he wants. He wants receptions. He wants touchdowns. So I think great guy to have some my guy.
yeah, I mean, Sam, I've got no problem with you saying it's an ascending situation, and I'm happy that you didn't say quarterback improvement, because that would have really hurt my feelings. So yeah, I don't
I
disagree.
think it's more offense that's built around the pass. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what
Wait a second.
Hollywood Brown wants to do.
Well, I have Lamar Jackson ranked above Kyler Murray in my quarterback
Yeah.
rankings, I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah, well, when you look at what Baltimore wants to do, it's not going to be an offense that will unlock the ceiling of Marquise Brown. So him going to
Yeah.
Arizona, this potentially could unlock his ceiling. So
yeah.
I totally see the upside there. So, all right, moving on now. We got our first non-wide receiver, and it's going to be Aaron Jones for me, because I fully believe Aaron Jones is going to be involved in this passing game heavily for Green Bay in order for them to succeed and continue to be a dominant team in the NFC. When you look at the reports that have come out, everything backs up that statement that they want to get them more involved, both Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. You look at some of the comments that Rodgers has made about how this receiving core needs to get better and they need to improve and clean up their sloppy work. And Rodgers is a big trust guy. You know who Rodgers has come out and said that he's trusted a lot? Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has been there for a while. He knows Aaron Jones well. Aaron Jones was not long ago top 5 running back. Everyone forgets he had that massive season where he had 16 touchdowns, and he was great. He's going to be a little bit more of that. Yeah, he's going to be a little bit more of that boom bust player, but also another thing that I love, it's the same thing with Courtland Sutton. Aaron Jones, you're getting at a value. You're not paying him as a running back 1. You're getting him in the back end round 2 and the start of round 3.
Yeah.
So you got guys. He's going. I've seen him go near Saquon Barkley, who I'm not crazy about, but it's just for me it's the talent and then a mixture of the opportunity. He can only go up from where he was last year. So.
No, actually, after our conversation yesterday when we did our running back rankings, I actually went in and moved Saquon up a spot, I think. Anyways, but Aaron Jones, okay, yeah. So he is going to be a free agency in 2025. So he's got this season and next season. So what's your dynasty outlook for the next several years of Aaron Jones? I know you still have him as a top 12 dynasty running back.
Yeah, you're
26, right? How old is he?
He
is 28.
28.
He's 28.
He's got 2 more seasons and he's going to be 30. But I mean, so I just want to hear. Yeah, what do you think about that?
The way I view this is he's going to transition more to a pass catching back, and that will keep his fantasy relevance for going on.
Yeah.
He's going to have a great season this year.
That.
Might take a dip in production next year, but still going to be relevant and good, flex worthy. Like a Kareem Hunt, I would say, would be very comparable. Where if you look at what Kareem Hunt's done in Cleveland behind Nick Chubb, AJ Dillon's going to transition into that, more of the workhorse type back that I think he can also be. But these two guys can coincide in tandem, and that's the only reason why I'm still high on Aaron Jones, is because I think what he's going to be able to do, transitioning as a passing back, it'll keep him relevant for, at least 3 years,
Yeah,
which
and
is
I
a good window
misspoke
to do in
actually.
Dynasty.
He's not a free agency in 2025. They could void the contract in 2025.
Okay.
So he's actually in contract through 2026.
Yeah.
So he would that would be his age 32 season. So I think yeah. So the Packers have made it possible. They're not paying as much. Like his money goes down year over year. Obviously,
Yeah.
his cap hit in 2025 is only $1.5 million, and it's nothing in 2026. So I think they've opened the door to be able to keep him as a pass catching running back, like you said.
I would be very surprised if Aaron Jones was on the team after Aaron Rodgers leaves. Like, I'm almost confident that he's going to go somewhere else.
But you think he can be an important pass catching back somewhere else?
As long as Rodgers is there, which obviously I don't know what Rodgers' plans are. I think he will play more than just this year. He'll play at least 2 years. So the way I view it is Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers are going to be connected for at least 2 more years. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Aaron Rodgers go out and ask them to bring back, the skeleton of Randall Cobb. So, why not? They're gonna keep the guys around Aaron that he likes. So I absolutely believe that. Yeah, no, I love that pick.
Yeah, that's really. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, we're only the start into it, but I love all of your my guys. I know we haven't gotten into it, but there's not any one of your my guys that I don't love. I think we all have pretty good taste with it. So, it's on me, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So my second my guy, I won't have to touch on too long. His name is Rondale Moore. He is an Arizona wide receiver. A lot of the same reasons that Sam, you like Hollywood. I love Rondale. I think he's the future. I don't think he's the future one. I'm not foolish, but when we're talking about that team, we're talking about a pass heavy team who doesn't have D-Hop for 6 weeks, who has Marquise Brown, AJ Green, Zach Ertz, and Trey McBride. That's basically his competition. I love Rondale Moore, the player. I love his talent. When we're talking about that talent in that offense, it's just Hollywood above him. So he is the number 2 weapon. No matter what you think about Ertz, what you think about McBride, I think he's going to have an explosive year this year. And the fact that you're getting him for a 13th round or 12th round pick does not hurt. This is a guy that if he isn't the number 2 option without D-Hop, he's droppable within 3 weeks. But I think he's going to have an explosive season. You don't want to miss out. You don't want to have a guy whose people are dropping 80% of their fab week 2 on, and you could have grabbed him in the 12th round.
And if Rondale Moore becomes the wide receiver 2 for that offense, and you get him this year, you're going to get him at an incredibly cheap price, like you said. He's going kind of as a end of draft dart throw right now, rather than the Cardinals wide receiver 2, because I think we saw him play. We saw the potential last year, right? There were a couple of games where he really broke out, and then he disappeared really for the rest of the season. Back half of the season, he was really nowhere to be found. But I mean, Trev, I love Rondale Moore too. I take him in the back of my drafts if I can. Rondale Moore was probably, before landing spots, my second wide receiver out of that class after Rashad Bateman. Even though he has that small size, his athletic talent is incredible. He was a clear dominator at Purdue. He was their entire offense pretty much. So I mean, if he ever gets used like he was getting used at Purdue at the Cardinals, watch out. So yeah.
To throw in just at the tail end of that too, I forgot to mention Christian Kirk's gone. So the biggest obstacle to him being used in the offense like they wanted to was Christian Kirk as the 3. So with the 3 gone, and then we're also losing the one at the beginning of the season, that accounted into it as well. I just forgot to mention that. Brendan, you got anything on Moore?
Yeah, no, not really. I think you guys touched on it a lot. I mean, he really could if he gets that 2 role locked down, he could be really good. The one thing I'll ask you, Trev. So, do you think that Rondale Moore could have a breakout year this year, or is it more of a stash him now, hope he does have some good games this year, but next year it's really where you want to see him shine?
No, I think he has a breakout year this year.
Okay.
I think D Hop he's 56 this year. So Rondale Moore, I think, shines as the 2 with him not there. And he may take a step back once D Hop is there. I don't think anybody thinks that he's more talented than DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is easily one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL, but DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to be there long. So
Yeah.
when they see what they have in Rondale Moore, if he does take a step forward, you're looking at a young Hollywood Brown and a young Rondale Moore or an ancient D Hop. That's not a tough choice.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so DeAndre Hopkins is actually, he's on contract next year and the year after that with the Cardinals. So he's going to be there through his age 32 season. But, are you kind of assuming that they either cut him or he becomes more of his talent just drops off a cliff and so they have more room for Rondale Moore to be more than the wide receiver 3?
Both. I haven't looked at his dead cap for those years, but I assume it drops significantly toward the end of that, where
Yeah,
it's
it
especially
does.
doable in that offense, where they don't have a ton of contract money down, especially since Hollywood hasn't gotten a new contract, and they got rid of Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, as far as wide receivers go, it's nobody right now. They can pick and choose who they want to keep, or if they do want to draft, they'll draft. But I still think Rondale Moore will be their 2 going forward. I don't think they're going to go to the draft, and I don't think they're going to keep DeAndre Hopkins.
So after this year, I don't think they have any dead cap on DeAndre Hopkins or no significant dead cap. But he is going to be 14% of their total cap next year. So with a $30 million hit. So, it's going to be, so it's going to be, if it gets to a point where they want to sign Marquise Brown to a contract, cutting or trading DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a big part of it. I mean, trading probably would be if he's still playing well. Anyways, I like to think about those contract situations because it's interesting. Okay. I'll go ahead and just go to my next guy. My guy I have. So I actually did a little bit of diversity with the positions. Was Cole Kmet. He's the tight end for the Chicago Bears. I think everybody is kind of on board with Cole Kmet being a tight end 1 this year. I think most people have him ranked around that spot. But the reason I'm really not leaving drafts without Cole Kmet is my number 9 dynasty tight end, is because I think that they just have nobody else to throw to other than Darnell Mooney. I think he's going to be the number 2 receiving option for the Bears. And I think if we look, Mooney had a great year last year, and Fields is going to have to throw to somebody. So if we're going to rank Fields as you guys have him as your 13 and 14 dynasty quarterback, then I think Kmet is going to be huge this year. And last year he had a ton of yards, just not the touchdown. So I think everybody thinks that is going to regress back towards the mean.
Yeah, and we talked about it in the quarterbacks episode, but Brendan and I know we talked about it at length. He was our quarterback 1 in this draft, so or in his draft. It's not a matter of does he have the talent to sustain. It's does that team have the ability to sustain an offense that can sustain Cole Kmet.
Yeah, and if you look at last season, if Cole Kmet scores 3-4 touchdowns, we look at him in a completely different light because he didn't score any touchdowns. So
right, exactly.
He scored literally 0. So you're talking 3 or 4, but it's literally 3 or 4 where we're marking Pitts down, saying he only scored 3 or 4. If Kmet scored
exactly.
3 or 4, we'd be looking at him so high.
Yeah,
and there's no Jimmy Graham there this year, so it's
Yeah, and if you look at the preseason, obviously it's just preseason, can't get too overhyped about it, but the rapport that him and Justin Fields have built, it looks pretty good. So
absolutely. Just give all the touchdowns that Jimmy Graham had last year. He had 3 touchdowns. Give those to Kmet this year, and
then
you're
some,
good.
because
and then some, exactly.
So
Even ignoring the position, which we can't ignore with something like tight end, but he's the second best receiver on the team.
yeah,
It's Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. There's not another Velus Jones. Like, what are we talking about?
yeah.
Like, it's him. It's a
Hmm.
clear him.
Yeah. So moving on to my guy. Shouldn't be any surprise. I'm wearing his jersey right now, even though numbers changed. Not 12 anymore. He's 7. Rashad Bateman is my final my guy. Probably to no surprise. Very homery my guy pick, but it's not just a homer pick. I fully believe in the talent of Rashad Bateman, wide receiver 3 coming out of that class. Love his talent, and I'm not scared about him being a wide receiver on the Ravens offense because we've seen from Marquise Brown that a Ravens wide receiver can have 1,000 yards and be productive. He's the only receiver there that is really relevant. You've got Devin Duvernay, James Prochet behind him. They're saying now Isaiah Likely's going to get worked in, and I do like Likely, but Rashad Bateman is a far superior talent, and the way they were using him at the beginning, it was something ridiculous. Like the first 16 catches he had all went for first downs, and it's crazy. And they want to use him in that offense where if they need a guy, they can trust him. They'll get those yards. So Rashad Bateman, absolutely love him, and just another trend in my guys, great value. You know, a lot of people are more down on him because he's in that Ravens offense, and people look very negatively on that. But love getting Bateman a little bit later in drafts. So
Yeah, I mean, I love Bateman. You know as well as I do that he's also he's lower end on my guys, but like I love Bateman. I love Bateman. We had a startup not too long back where I just happened to notice him falling. I traded into a round just to pick him up. Like I had to have him on my team. I mean, he's a great my guy this year and for Dynasty.
yeah, and 2 other guys that almost made my list. I'll just say them real quick. Dalton Schultz, think he's gonna have a really good year. Same thing with Cole Kmet. They have no one else to target, and then Leonard Fournette, kind of similar along the lines of Aaron Jones, where pass catching back, going to be involved, going to have a really great season this year. So I'll let you talk about your final my guy, Trev.
Before I do, I'd like to say that I had like 3 guys kind of in contention, but you had Sutton and Bateman, and the other one would have been Tony Pollard. I do love Tony Pollard. I don't have a ton of him. I have a decent bit of Zeke for his value, but I do love Pollard in drafts. My third my guy is Mike Williams. So Mike Williams is being ignored a lot because of what happened in 2/3 of the season, the last 2/3, the playoffs, and trying to birth into the playoffs. People forget how good he really was. His first 5 games, he had 1 dud where it was 1 for 4 for 11 yards. He had 1 other game where he had only 4 targets, and he had 3 receptions and a touchdown in that game. So even including that dud, if we're talking about projections for a season, I'm not saying he can sustain this for a full season, but Mike Williams on that offense, on that high-powered offense, he had 30 receptions for 460 and 6 in those first 5 weeks. So we're talking about over 1,500 yards and like 20 touchdowns. I mean, just an unbelievable year for this guy had he been able to sustain it. Now we got Keenan Allen there. We got Josh Palmer there. I love both those guys. Not necessarily both of them for Dynasty, but I love both of their talents. So there's 0 chance he can sustain that for a season. But we talked about it a little bit earlier with Keenan Allen in the wide receivers episode, but I think Mike Williams becomes the one. I don't think it's Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and then down in the range is Joshua Palmer. The way I see it going forward is Mike Williams, Keenan Allen as he falls off, and Joshua Palmer.
Yeah.
So I love Mike Williams. That's for me, he is a guy I'm grabbing in every draft possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit worried about the streakiness of him, but it's always great to be connected to an amazing quarterback like Justin Herbert. So no problems there with your final my guy.
And
yeah, we've seen him
talked about this a little bit. Sorry, real quick. The sustainability, totally agree with you, but a lot of the comparison there of his boom bust, I would just like to throw in, and I said it, I think, on the wide receiver episode too, but the way we look at Chase and the way we look at Higgins, their boom bust is accounted into their ranking. And Mike Williams for us is ranked way lower based on boom bust. I mean, a lot of his negativity is that he's maybe not going to be the one. He's going to have more boom bust games, but his boom is going to be 35 points in a game, 30 points in a game. I mean, that's going to be his boom. It's not going to be just 20 and then 15 on the next.
Yeah, and I mean he's also dealt with injuries too, so it's not just the boom bust for me. But
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, my thing is, I think we've been hoping that Mike Williams is gonna, deliver on the potential we thought he would have coming into the draft for a long time now.
Sold now.
Yeah. And it's been this one season. This is the first one he's played really well, and you could say that's
train all the way.
You could say, you could say that's because of Justin Herbert. And a big part of it is because of Justin Herbert. I'm just, a lot of why he didn't play well until this year was also injury. So that I'll leave it at that. So my guy is Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson.
That's right.
Yeah, this rat.
I love it.
And so we all have Russell Wilson pretty high in our overall rankings. I actually moved Russell Wilson up in my most recent version of my rankings after his contract to stay in Denver for the next several years to my number 8 dynasty quarterback. If he was a tight end, man, that'd be great. You'd get that Taysom Hill type scoring.
That cool spot actually going.
Yeah. So I think we all love Russell Wilson because number one, he's an absolutely incredible quarterback. He's been great with the Seahawks. When they let Russ cook last year, he was so good at the beginning of the season. He was so good, and he's now coming to an offense where. They got him because they want him to cook. Like, Russ is going to cook all season long. He has great wide receivers. He's got a great offense. I think everybody has been saying this Broncos offense has everything they need but a quarterback. He's going to be incredible this year. And I think the pieces around him are so young. I love Russell Wilson, not only this year, but for Dynasty. Russell Wilson is not that old when you really think about it. He's only 33. Quarterbacks are playing into their late 30s now. If I can get 5 or 6 years out of a quarterback in Dynasty, I'm thrilled. So, I really don't mind taking Russell Wilson over guys like Trey Lance, over Trevor Lawrence, over some of these other guys that have potential if I can know who I'm going to get for 6 years. So I love Russell Wilson this year, and beyond for Dynasty.
Now, are you guys just a little bit worried that he's going to be cooking too much? Because I don't know if you remember, but right after they traded for him, a couple days after, there was a massive fire in that Broncos stadium. So it may or may not be connected, so it might get a little too hot in the kitchen for him, but no. We all love Russell Wilson. Sam, me and you, all three of us were in a draft. Me and you were in a call. Early in the draft, and you managed to get Cortland Sutton, and then a couple rounds later, you paired him up, got that stack, Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton stack. So, love that.
Love Russ.
And truly, when we're talking about keepers, startups, and redraft, he's the guy with the most value of that team, which is the most insane part. Like, you're getting Sutton for cheaper than you get Judy, you're getting Javonte, you're getting Melvin Gordon, but Russell Wilson has the potential to be a true number 1 quarterback this year. Like, he
could be the number 1 overall. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying A1. I'm saying B1. And you're getting him at the back end of the draft. Like, he's got great potential. Love him as a quarterback.
The other 2 guys I had were Elijah Moore, who I actually, in Dynasty, I actually have Elijah Moore ranked higher than Marquise Brown, but I'm a little bit more against the grain with Marquise Brown. I think I have Marquise Brown ranked higher than consensus versus Elijah Moore. And then my guy is Dameon Pierce. I am a Texans fan, so that has obviously something to do with it. But I really love Dameon Pierce this year, and for at least I think the next few years before as this team continues to rebuild. Do we want to talk just really quickly about our sleepers?
Yeah, we'll fire them off real quick. So if you just want to start with your sleeper, Sam, because you've been talking about.
I've talked about him a lot on the previous episodes. My sleeper for this year is Devin Singletary. I love Devin Singletary. I probably have him more than a lot of these more than even Dameon Pierce, because he's this guy that you can get at the end of drafts He's almost always there. I take him as my RB4, RB5 sometimes. And if we look at the end of last year, the last 3 to 4 weeks, he was absolutely incredible when they started to actually give him work. They brought in James Cook this year, but I think James Cook is going to be really used in the passing game as a slot wide receiver or a third down back. Devin Singletary was not really building most of his success off of passing work. I think the potential for Devin Singletary to have a great year for over the next 2 to 3 years is really there. Now for Dynasty, I don't. I'll be honest. I don't think after the Bills, Devin Singletary is going to have an amazing career. I think he's probably going to be maybe a backup, but possibly out of the league after he's done with the Bills. But if you can get him as your RB5 in a redraft, if you can get him, probably even lower than that in a Dynasty, I think he's incredible value.
Yeah, just got him in the 12th round in a redraft league.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Sniped a certain someone. So, yeah. So, talking about our third Arizona Cardinal that we have, you want to talk about Trey McBride, Trev?
I love Trey McBride. He's a deep sleeper for sure, but almost the opposite of your sleeper, Sam. I don't think he's going to be a tight end 1, 2, or 3. Not like the 1, 2, or 3 this coming up year. So when we're talking about sleepers, we're talking about guys that usually have a chance to be like one of the best. I see McBride as having his ceiling would be more of a Pitts last year as a tight end 7, tight end 8. But whereas I see it more as not necessarily just this year, this is, if you can get McBride, this would be the cheapest you're going to get him. I think he's going to be a major weapon for that team. The way they used Ertz, the way they like to just throw the ball around. And I'm not an Arizona homer, like by any means. I'm not a fan of Arizona, but I do like the offense. And if you could get pieces of Buffalo, pieces of peak Kansas City for the prices that we're getting pieces of Arizona right now, you get them. So McBride, I think, is going to have more touchdowns than Pitts last year, and maybe less receptions. But I think he's definitely going to be good this year, and I think he's going to beat out Ertz within the first 3 or 4 weeks. So you'll know fairly soon whether or not that pick worked out.
Yeah, and lastly, my sleeper is DJ Chark. And now, for me, we're all forgetting how good DJ Chark's breakout year was. And last year, suffered a broken ankle week 4. But if you look at his first 3 games, 2 touchdowns, obviously was hyper targeted. He had 12 targets in 1 game. Not a whole lot of catches, but I still think he's got a lot left in the tank. He could be really, really good. And on this offense for the Lions, if you look, it is a little bit of a crowded offense, but you've got Jameson Williams, who's not going to be back for a little bit. And he's on a 1-year deal. They signed a 1-year, $10 million deal, which, looking back at it now, that is a crazy value for DJ Chark, especially with everything that went on in the offseason. So you got a 1-year deal for DJ Chark in Detroit.
It was the Jacksonville discount, just trying to get out of there. So.
Yeah. and he could.
Well, Christian Kirk got paid buku bucks to go there.
Yeah.
You gotta pay money to get him there, and you don't have to pay much to get him out.
Kind of interesting that he goes from Jacksonville to Detroit, but
Yeah.
So his breakout year, he had Gardner Minshew as his quarterback. So is Jared Goff that great of a quarterback? No. Is he better than Gardner Minshew? Yes.
Yeah, no doubt.
If you look at Amon-Ra in the back half, I'm a little bit lower on Amon-Ra just for the fact that he was the hyper-targeted guy. There was no one else. Hawkinson was out. Swift was out. He was the only guy. There were no other receivers there. So there's no guarantee. He was a 4th-round wide receiver. There's no guarantee that everyone's saying Amon-Ra is this wide receiver 1. It's not guaranteed. DJ Chark could come in and be this receiver 1. I mean, it's been quiet. I think we've all watched a little bit of Hard Knocks. Haven't really shown too much. I know Sam, me and you both thought he was going to get the bump because every player gets a bump this year. So I know me and you both thought he was going to get that Hard Knocks bump.
I did.
Kind of quiet. Very happy that it was quiet. Keep his ADP down because he's a really good sleeper here. So Love DJ Chark. Could be really good. Plays well. Goes somewhere else. Balls out. You know, next year we could be looking at DJ Chark, the Green Bay Packers wide receiver 1. So.
Brody. I love Chark. My biggest issue with Chark is just the crowded receiver room. Honestly, I mean that's what it boils down to is it's Hawk and Swift, but then you also got Quintus Cephas was going off before Amon went off, and then Amon goes off, and well, Quintus Cephas got hurt. You can boo, but he got hurt.
He's not
But,
going to
I
be
mean,
anything.
DJ
He almost
Chark
got
comes
cut.
in.
Quintus Cephas barely made the team.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, but that's the quality of wide receiver we have here. Is DJ?
You mean that's how bad all their wide receivers are?
Quintus Cephas. No, that's my point. The quality of their receivers are bad. So when we're talking about Chark being the one behind, Hawkinson and Swift, I'm still not sure that he is as good as he's maybe even projected to be with the Lions. But I hope he is.
I just think
if there's
talent,
a guy you're going to call your shot on for his value, it's that guy.
Yeah, that's for the talent where he's going. I just think it's mismatch ADP. So a lot of games, can't wait. Hope you guys all enjoy watching the games. Week 1, football is finally back. If you like the podcast, leave a like down below. If you have any start-sit questions, check us out on Twitter. Send us a message. The Dynasty Pod at the Dynasty Pod FF. But other than that, enjoy football, have fun, and peace out.